If you're watching this, there's a high chance that you're exhausted. Not physically tired, but mentally drained. Tired of promising yourself that this time will be different. Tired of starting strong, full of hope, full of motivation, only to find yourself back at the same place weeks or months later. Tired of deleting old plans and creating new ones. Tired of telling yourself, I'll restart on Monday, or next month will be better. If that's you, listen carefully. Before we go any further, take a second and do something simple. If you want more content that actually explains why you're stuck and how to break free from it, subscribe to this channel now. This is not motivation. This is understanding. And understanding is what changes lives. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they don't understand the invisible forces controlling their behavior. You are not weak. You are not lazy. And you are definitely not broken. You are trapped in a pattern. And the reason this pattern feels so heavy is because it keeps repeating. At first, it always starts the same way. There is a moment where the pain becomes loud enough. Maybe it's seeing others move forward while you feel stuck. Maybe it's waking up one day and realizing time is passing faster than you expected. Maybe it's failing again or feeling disappointed in yourself one more time. That moment creates urgency. You decide to change. You make a plan. You tell yourself, this time, I'm serious. And for a while, it works. You wake up earlier. You feel disciplined. You feel proud. You finally feel like the person you want to become. But then life happens. You miss one day. Then two. Then you feel guilty. And instead of continuing imperfectly, you stop completely. That's when the voice appears. The quiet one. The one that says, here we go again. The one that says, you always do this. The one that says, what's the point? And without realizing it, you're back at the beginning. Starting over again. What most people don't realize is that restarting is not the problem. The problem is why you always restart the same way. Every restart is built on emotion, on frustration, on pain, on motivation. And emotions are temporary. They rise. And they fall. So when your entire plan is built on how you feel at the beginning, it collapses the moment your feelings change. This is why motivation never saves anyone long term. Motivation feels powerful, but it's fragile. It disappears the moment things become uncomfortable. And discomfort is not an obstacle. It is the price. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. You don't quit because it's hard. You quit because you expected it to feel easier. Deep down, you believed that once you started, something inside you would magically change. That discipline would suddenly feel natural. That consistency would stop hurting. But growth doesn't work like that. Growth is not a straight line upward. It's a constant negotiation with resistance. And if no one prepares you for that resistance, you interpret it as failure. This is where most people lose. They mistake resistance for a sign that they're not meant for more. But resistance is not rejection. It's confirmation. Anything that matters will push back. Your mind pushes back. Your habits push back. Your old identity pushes back. And identity is where everything breaks or holds. Because no matter how many plans you make, no matter how many times you restart, your actions will always return to the level of the person you believe you are. If deep down, you see yourself as someone who always quits, your behavior will eventually prove that belief. Right? Not because it's true, but because the mind hates contradiction. This is why starting over feels heavier each time. Every restart carries the memory of the last failure. Every new plan feels less believable than the one before. Every promise feels weaker. You're not just fighting the task anymore. You're fighting your own self-trust. And once self-trust is damaged, effort alone is not enough. This is the part nobody explains. They tell you to try harder. They tell you to stay motivated. They tell you to believe in yourself. But belief doesn't come from words. It comes from evidence. And right now, your mind is full of evidence that says, this doesn't last. So the real question isn't, how do I start again? The real question is, how do I stop living in cycles? The answer is not intensity. It's alignment, because every time you restart, you aim too high emotionally and too low strategically. You try to become a new person overnight. You demand perfection from a system that has never worked for you before, and when perfection breaks, you walk away entirely. This all-or-nothing thinking is silent, but destructive. You either go all in, or not at all. You either do it perfectly, or you quit. You either change everything, or nothing. Real change doesn't work that way. Real change is quiet, slow, uncomfortable, and boring. And that's exactly why it works. People who stop starting over don't have more motivation than you. They just stopped relying on emotion to guide their behavior. They stopped asking, "Do I feel like it today?" and started asking, "What does the system require today?" Because systems don't care about your mood, and this is where your freedom begins. If this video is already making you see yourself differently, stay with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This channel exists for one reason: to help you break patterns, not repeat them. In the next part, we'll go deeper into why comfort keeps pulling you back, why your environment controls you more than you think, and how small decisions are silently shaping your future without you noticing. This is not about restarting your life. It's about ending the cycle. The cycle doesn't repeat by accident. It is sustained every single day by something quiet, subtle, and dangerously familiar. Comfort. Comfort is not rest. Rest restores you. Comfort, when it becomes a habit, slowly numbs you. It whispers that nothing is urgent, that you still have time, that you can restart later, when things feel easier, when life is calmer, when you feel more ready. But later is rarely a real moment. It's a vague space where intentions slowly decay. Comfort doesn't destroy your life dramatically. It puts it to sleep, and while your awareness is asleep, your habits take control. Most people believe they make conscious decisions all day long. In reality, the majority of their actions are automatic. You wake up the same way. You reach for your phone without thinking. You respond to the same triggers. You escape stress in the same familiar ways without realizing it. You are living on repeat. That's why restarting never works for long. Because you restart inside the same environment, surrounded by the same triggers, operating with the same internal rules. You want a new life, but you keep the same conditions, and conditions always win. Your environment is stronger than your willpower, every single time. If your phone dominates your mornings, it shapes your focus before you even become fully aware. If your space is cluttered, your mind struggles to stay clear. If your evenings are filled with easy distractions, discipline doesn't stand a chance. This isn't about character. It's about exposure. You become what you see often. You become what you repeat daily. You become what your environment makes easy. And this is where honesty becomes uncomfortable. Many people say they want to change, but they protect the very things that keep them stuck. They want a new version of themselves without letting go of the old one. But you cannot build a new identity while holding tightly to the habits that created the current one. Every habit is a vote. Every small decision sends a signal to your brain. When you choose comfort over effort, you reinforce an identity. When you choose avoidance over presence, you reinforce an identity. When you quit after one mistake, you reinforce an identity. Over time, that identity becomes a cage. What exhausts you most is not effort. It's the internal resistance. That constant tension between what you know you should do and what you actually do. It drains you. It creates frustration. It makes you doubt yourself. That's why you sometimes feel tired. Even when you haven't truly worked, your energy is being consumed by inner conflict. And as long as that conflict exists, every new beginning carries invisible weight. The solution is not to become harsher with yourself. It's to become more aware. You don't need to push harder. You need to reduce the friction between you and the right action. Most people make change unnecessarily complicated. They try to transform everything at once. They aim for perfect routines. They expect fast results. But the human brain doesn't change through sudden revolutions. It changes through consistent repetition. What truly reshapes you are the small actions. you take even when you don't feel like it. Not the actions driven by motivation, the ones driven by commitment. The ones you take when no one is watching. The ones that don't bring immediate reward. That is where my identity shifts. You don't become disciplined the day you decide to be disciplined. You become disciplined the day you act despite resistance. And that transformation is quiet. No applause. No recognition. No dramatic moment, but your brain notices. Slowly, the internal narrative begins to change. From I always quit to I continue, even when it's uncomfortable. And that single sentence changes everything. Because at that point, you no longer return to the same version of yourself, even when you fall. You fall forward. That the difference between those who move forward and those who keep starting over is not the absence of failure. It's their relationship with failure. Some people treat failure as an identity, others treat it as information. When you miss one day and abandon everything, you are unconsciously saying, if it's not perfect, it's not worth continuing. But life is not perfect. Progress isn't either. True discipline is not about never falling. It's about never disappearing. It's about showing up the next day, even with guilt, even with frustration, even with disappointment, because every return strengthens a new self-image. If this video is resonating with you right now, pause for a moment. Subscribe to the channel, not impulsively, but as a quiet commitment to consistency. This space exists to help you build continuity, not emotional restarts. In the next part, we'll go deeper into what truly blocks consistency, the hidden fear behind change, the attachment to your old identity, and why staying stuck sometimes feels safer than moving forward. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary, because until you clearly see what's holding you back, you'll keep calling it a lack of discipline, when in reality, it's protection. And once you understand what you're protecting, you can finally choose differently. There is one more reason you keep starting over that almost no one talks about. And it's uncomfortable to admit. Sometimes, staying stuck feels safer than changing. Not because you enjoy being where you are, but because your current situation is familiar. You know how to survive here? You know who you are in this version of your life. Change, on the other hand, asks something deeper than effort. It asks you to let go of an old identity, and that can feel like a loss. If you've been the one who struggles for a long time, growth creates a strange fear. Because who are you without the struggle? Who are you without the excuses? Who are you without the story you've been telling yourself for years? This is why some people unconsciously sabotage progress right before it becomes real, not because they're weak, but because success would force them to confront a new responsibility. When you change, you can no longer blame the past. You can no longer say, one day. You can no longer hide behind potential. And that level of ownership is intimidating. So the mind chooses something it knows well. Restarting. Restarting feels productive without being threatening. It feels like movement without requiring transformation. You tell yourself you're trying again. But deep down, you're avoiding the discomfort of becoming someone new. This is where real maturity begins. When you realize that growth is not about becoming perfect, motivated, or fearless. It's about becoming honest about your patterns. Honest about your avoidance. Honest about the small decisions you repeat every day. The moment you stop romanticizing starting over is the moment your life starts to stabilize. Because stability doesn't come from dramatic changes. It comes from continuity, from doing the next right thing, even when it feels ordinary, even when it feels boring, even when no one notices. This is where mental gold exists. This channel was not created to hype you up for 1 week and disappear. It was created to help you build a mind that lasts. A mind that understands discipline, not as punishment, but as freedom. A mind that stops chasing emotional highs and starts building internal strength. A mind that no longer needs to restart its life every few months. Mental gold is about mental clarity. About facing uncomfortable truths without shame. About turning awareness into consistency. If you've reached this point in the video, understand something important. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not incapable. You are simply at the moment where surface-level motivation no longer works, and that's a good thing. Because it means you're ready for depth, for structure, for understanding. The next phase of your life will not begin with a burst of energy. It will begin with a quiet decision. A decision to stop negotiating with your excuses. A decision to continue even when it doesn't feel inspiring. A decision to respect yourself enough to show up imperfectly. You don't need to restart your life. You need to stop abandoning it. You need to stop disappearing when things get uncomfortable. Stop waiting for the perfect mood. Stop demanding instant results from long-term change. Progress is not loud, but it is loyal, and loyalty to small actions compounds into a completely different life. If this video helped you see yourself more clearly, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Mental Gold, not because it's trendy, but because this channel is built for people who are done starting over and ready to build something real. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is one pattern you are committed to breaking from today? And remember this. You don't need a new beginning. You need consistency with the truth. This is Mental Gold, and this is where real change starts.